Hey everybody, I've got a big huge hunk of maple here that I completely forgot that I had. It's about a year old and it was already sitting for 10 years when I got it. So this is one that was planted in 1915. Same one I've used in the past for a nice lady that asked me to make her some things. Well, I've got I was asked something I'm honored to do, but don't want to do. There's somebody that's pretty close to me asked me if I can make him his urn because his health isn't doing too well and he's trying to get things together. So if I can get this maple to work, I'm going to make it out of this maple. Having said that, the top from front to back, back to front, however you want to do it, it's about 12 inches. Obviously it's going to get cut down. The widest part's 10 inches. And then we got over here, which is most likely what I'll be using, is 8 inches. Probably going to cut it right about there, or somewhere in there, where this part will be the most used, because we're going to have to, all this is going to have to be turned off. And it's probably about 13, 14 inches tall. Yeah, definitely the back side's got about 3 fingers. 14 inches tall in the back, about 12 in the front. But this is what I'll be working on for a while. Okay, I've got the maple for the urn up on the lathe, squared it off a little bit. I've got a 6-inch back plate screwed in to the back. I'm going to have some vibration, but I do have my tailstock pretty tight on. So let's get it rounded off the best we can. Okay everybody, we got it rounded, and this is going to be my base. I'm going to do a sacrificial chalk, and I'm going to need to use epoxy resin. We've got a couple large cracks, inclusions, but all in all we got a basic rounding, and this lathe is bouncing all over the place. So, but I ended up getting through it. Ended up grabbing this old beauty that my uncle gave me, sharpened it up, and this actually did the best job of rounding this off. It was able to take more off with stopping and going and everything else. But all in all, I think this will turn out pretty darn good, especially with this spalting added to it. And now I just got to figure out color. So I'll find out what he likes. Y'all have a good one. I'll come back whenever I can start working on it again. Hey everybody, working on the urn again. It's still rounded to where I left it the last time. I do have some cracks in it from where the wood is punky, and I finally got my pigments in the colors that my guy wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these out the best I can, the cracks, so it'll look nice when I put the epoxy in, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I've got some sanding sealer on all this punkiness here, some on the bottom as well to harden it up. Once it all dries, it'll harden up the punkiness as well. Once it does that, I've already cleaned out the inside here. I'm going to use some glue, some hot glue around the edges the best I can of this one large crack, and then mix up some epoxy. And I'll probably make the large one the dark red, and then mix up, like on this one down here, you may not be able to see, but this one down here I might do the emerald green, some other small holes, but I'm going to work on the big one first because I know it's going to take the most time. So once this dries, and I'm ready to do the epoxy, I'll bring you back to hot glue and do everything else. Hello everybody, we are back to to working on the urn. The sanding sealer is dried up pretty good. The punkiness isn't as soft, it's hardened. I even put some down here. I'm going to use a tenon because this is going to be more of an ingrain, and it's got the punkiness. I would rather it squeeze than spread apart. I've got the tenon marked. I'm going to go ahead and put this tenon on, and then I'm going to go back through and work on the cracks with epoxy. So I want to just get the tenon done here. Back, I got the epoxy mixed. I'm using the emerald green. The red that I had was not the bright red that I was looking for, so I ordered some more, and I'll just do the thickness, the thick one here with green. Alright, we got the emerald green set in there. Filled pretty good. A lot of this is going to get turned down, so I'm not too concerned about gaps across the top. It's really what's inside, so I poured it really slow, piece by piece. I even got one down here filled in. I mean, I went a little crazy with the super glue to help dam it out, but we shall see. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this aside till it hardens, work on something else. We're back to the large urn. It's dried out a whole lot more now. We've got the green epoxy in to cover up some of the cracks, and because it was sitting, a lot of this looks good, but on this backside we have more cracks. So I'm going to try to turn some of it, see how bad it is, and then most likely I'm going to have to stop and try the red resin as well, so it can look how my buddy wants it. We'll do a little turn and see what it looks like, get rid of some of this resin that's sticking up, and we'll go from there. Alright, I'm going to do a little bit of Dremel work. Yeah, you're still on there. I'm going to do some Dremel work, open this crack up some, clean this one over here up some, and add some more epoxy at those two spots. I think this is, besides getting the finishing touches on it, I think this is going to be the design for the base. The top, I'm going to probably have a smaller top and keep like this edge flat. So that's what I'm thinking about. We'll figure it out a little bit more through time. There's some soft spots and stuff I need to do, so we'll come back. Well, hey everybody, we're back on the large maple urn. Like I said, the green turned out pretty darn nice, the spalting, and I had to add some red in here, and it looks a mess. And yeah, it's going to be a pain to get off. I tried using the rubbing alcohol, but a lot of the places here, the glue and the epoxy kind of mixed together. I guess I didn't let it fully dry. The glue dry, that is, and the epoxy, when it got warmed it up and moved right on in. So I'm going to have to do a lot of cutting on this one to get all that away. So I'm going to use one of my older chisels and see how that does. Let's get it to it. Alright, now we can get into a faster speed and a better gouge and clean all this up. I kind of like the profile. I'm going to change the top a little bit and round it instead of having the sharp edge. It'll look better with the punkiness that's in here. I may have to take a lot of the rim off because of this punkiness, but we'll go from there. It seems that a lot of it has toughened up when I put all that sanding sealer on it a while back, so that's a plus. Alright, I'm gonna sharpen up and I'll be back. Okay, we're back again. I was able to get the speed up to about 1,000 and very little wobble, so we can do a little bit of a touch up on this part here, and then I'll move over to do this little section, and then I'll come back to the top. I've got to get another tool rest because the larger one that I have that came with the lathe, I like these little bars that go across. For me, things slide better, but that's just me personally. This line will come out when I start sanding it down. It'll round it off a little bit, which I don't mind a little bit of an accent. Finish up this bottom part here, and then I'll do another run from here down. I'll be right back. Alright, all in all, I'm okay so far with these parts. And here. Let's do some sanding a little bit. Should be good. But I need to take care of this stuff. So I'm going to hop off of here and figure that part out, and then I'll come back if I do something with it. If not, then I'll just do some sanding and I'll get back with you later. Okay, everybody, I know it's been a while before I've got back to this urn. For me, for you all, it's probably been just a couple seconds. Now, it still looks pretty good here. I added some more red, filled in some more cracks. I used the Dremel a little bit and try to make some of the cracks a little bit bigger to hold a little bit more red color. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. I really love how this green came in, but not as happy with the red. So we're going to see what turns out on this and have to go from there. I did attempt to take off as much glue as I could. It was being a real bad pain, so I'm just going to honestly go slow and do the best I can with clearing this stuff off, including the tape. Hey, I tried using denatured alcohol, but I think because I had so much to keep this flat and get the epoxy in there, the glue, because there was so much, I think really messed it up. So yeah, I'll do a lot of sharpening then. Let's see what we can do with the brief little time that I have today. Right now I'm at 600 RPM, which is my slowest, and I'm going to work a little bit of this part here, and then I'll move a little bit up to the top. And I'm using rather large bowl gouge. We'll go with 5/8 on this one, just because of how heavy it is. I think the gouge will be a big help. Moving nice and slow. And I have a new tool rest as well. It's going to be able to help me out a lot because I can go across the entire thing, and I've got more of a pivot point. There we go. Happy with that. Okay, y'all. Now I need to get the other work done. Have a good one. We finished up sanding. I went to 1000 grit on this one. Coming out real smooth. There are some little small spots that are embedded into the wood that I'm going to have to take care of another way. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and seal it because there are some little bit of soft spots that I think the sanding sealer will help from getting any worse. So let's go ahead and seal this up. I haven't really done too much on the top when it comes to sanding sealer, and I'm probably going to hold off on that anyway because I still got to do the hole and set up how I want to do the cap. So, alright, we'll let this dry. I'll put a couple coats on and then we'll be back. Okay, everybody, we're back. We've got the large urn here. I've got stability put around it. It does stick out pretty far. It's got some weight on it. I'm getting ready to start with the brass rings and hollowing it out. I used or bought these brass rings, threaded brass rings from the bottle stopper place, and I'll get the information where I got them and put it in here somewhere. But this is a scary part for me because we've got to get this to fit perfectly in the bottom, in the center, and then start hollowing it out. But I'm not going to put this in until I put the hollowing valves, but not disturb what this is going to be sitting on. So that's first. It's a 2-inch internal diameter. So it is also my ruler. My ruler's not hanging up anymore. It's this one. And about 2.5 outside diameter for it. And it's going to go in about, it's going to set down into about 1/2 inch. 3/8 of an inch. So go ahead and get this started. I'm going to face off to the front so it's completely flat, then I'll mark out everything that we need to. Alright, I think we're good right now with drilling it out. So we'll start getting into hollowing. As long as I don't touch this still, we'll be good. I'm gonna set all that up and be back. Give this a try. I may have to get another hollower to go deeper in there because my carbide, regular carbides, are not long enough. Okay. Alright, I'm going to turn you off, keep hollowing, and I'm going to rotate my carbide tip. Alright, so we've got it hollowed out pretty well, and you're not going to be able to see in there, go figure. But we got it hollowed out pretty well. I've got it hollowed down to about here, and it starts to flatten out. And we're about a 1/2 inch thickness, slightly less here, but a 1/2 inch thickness for the majority of it. I'm going to have to get some rice and figure out if this is enough cubic inch on the inside before I go any further. So I'm going to have to put this back on hold for a while. Okay, I got the new tool in. Worked out wonderfully. I was able to get the inside and a little bit deeper, deep and thin as I could possibly go. So it's time to go ahead and part it off and do a little bit more, do some sealing on the inside, and then I can work on the outside by putting the polyurethane on and begin working on the actual lid with the copper threaded rings. So let's go ahead and finish cutting this off, which I'm really close to it anyway. Alright, now we just gotta sand the bottom and get it nice and pretty and work on the rest. Bring you back. Now we're going to work on the cap. This would be the first part of the cap, and I'm going to put a finial on it as well. Alright, before I put the brass piece in, I went ahead and flipped the lid over so I can shape the very top of it and get ready to try to make it nice to put a finial on. So I'm going to go ahead and work that, and then I have to get going for the day, and I'll come back later on. It'll be about a day for me and 2 seconds for you. That might be a problem. we'll fix that. It'll get fixed. Yep, we're gonna have to do some more gluing and patching up. This maple, like I said, is really old and it's had its days. So we're gonna make it look nice and pretty, and then we'll get back to doing this again. I'll show you the holes that I'm talking about, and the small little cracks and indents that we'll have to work on. So we've got, when I originally made this weeks ago, for this being the top part of it, I had to use a face plate that used 4 screws. So I've got to fix those, and then this was a large crack that had epoxy in it. However, it didn't seep all the way down into this part. It only hit other parts on it. So we're gonna fix all this up, and then I'll bring you back when we get back to turning again. So, all right, time for some sanding. Alright, let's go ahead and get this little tip off, and hopefully I can make it concave enough to where I can get a drill bit in it so I can make my finial area. I know that I got it clamped in, but I didn't want it to come off, and I do have a center spot, so that's good. We're on the last couple steps. I don't think you've seen me do too much with the top, but I went ahead and got the threaded brass rings in, and got the first coat of polyurethane on. It does need wet sanded still. However, I want to go ahead and get the finial put on it, and I'm going to use the Gorilla Glue epoxy. So I'm going to put a little bit down on here. Don't need a lot. Whoop. Mix it up. Definitely too much, but we have our base. Which we had finished up. First coat of polyurethane on. Got a little band I put in here. A little bead around the top. Threaded rings really help out. And there we go. I'll get some more pictures after I get it done wet sanding it and completely finished.